Welcome back to the HOLDO MANEUVER podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike. We're two hardworking dads who are trying to immerse ourselves into Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
If this is your first time listening in this short form Star Wars podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from a galaxy far, far away.
Hey guys, is BB hungry?
I'm hungry. Maybe he's hungry.
No, BB-8.
Wah, wah.
All right, everybody, and we are back. This is going to be kind of our closeout wrap up of the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series as a whole, and like kind of overall like analysis of it to wrap up our coverage of it. So this week, I asked my friend Adam to join us. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Adam.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being here.
To it. I did some studying. I rewatched all 6 episodes in the last, 14, 15 hours.
Oh, dang.
Nothing wrong with that in my book.
No, I had to. I mean, I was super busy during the series, so I wasn't even like caught up until like a few episodes in. So like when I was watching it so fast that I know I missed stuff. So I knew I had to rewatch it.
Yeah, that's why I also watch like a bunch of like those like YouTube videos about like, here's 47 Easter eggs you may have missed.
Those people come out with those videos like 2 minutes before the episode airs. How long have you had this episode?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The content is so fast. Like it's impossible to miss spoilers. It's impossible to like. You have to mute so many words on Twitter or just stay off of it completely. Luckily, I'm not on Facebook, so.
I'm on Facebook, but I haven't logged in forever.
I find myself avoiding YouTube on like release day of basically any Marvel or Lucasfilm TV show, or really, I guess those would be the primarily the shows that get kind of spoiled thumbnail wise on YouTube.
So you're just never on YouTube weekly? That's what you're saying? Because there's something every week coming out?
Yeah, I guess not until after I watch whatever came out that day. But yeah, that's definitely a thing to think about too. Is like just spoilers in general. Is trying to avoid all that stuff. But yeah, I asked Adam on because I worked with you about a year or so ago, and you were a big Star Wars fan then. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think you're wearing a Han Solo shirt right now.
I am wearing this. It's laundry day too, so this is like the bottom rung of my Star Wars shirts. I have I think 10 or 11, and I've gone through all of them. This is the one I saved for laundry day, I guess. I don't know. It's my oldest one.
Very cool. But yeah, so I figured to wrap up the coverage I'd have you on this week to talk with me and Mike about it. So before we kind of go into our full kind of wrap up analysis of the series as a whole, I figured we could cover the kind of recent Star Wars news from like the past week or so since the last episode we did. And the first bit of news that came out was that I know you're a big comic book reader, Adam, but I'm not sure if have you read any of the Star Wars comics?
I did some of the recent Darth Vader comics. That's where I have some. I think I actually have like the big fat like book of all the Marvel old ones too, like the encyclopedia, the Star Wars encyclopedia. But the most recent I've been reading the Darth Vader ones, but I haven't honestly I've been so busy I haven't really read any comic books. But that's the most recent one, the one with Greg Pak and a couple other guys, but just a Darth Vader series. And it was just basically pretty much the time frame Obi-Wan is set in, actually. I'm pretty sure it's in that same, I don't know if it's necessarily 10 years after episode 3, but it's in that few year period that it takes place. He's on the search for oh man, this is really bad. I should have read more. He's on the search for something. I think it's actually Luke. I think that's who he's on the search for. But I haven't read it in a few months. Like, honestly, it's been a crazy time for me.
Nice. Oh, I saw with this that basically that they just kicked off the war between the Sith and Crimson Dawn. And so Crimson Dawn, if people remember from the Solo: A Star Wars Story movie, Amelia Clark, Lady Kiara, was basically revealed to be like part of like Crimson Dawn with our buddy Darth Maul, which I always wonder if how confusing that is for people that only watch the live action show. Like, well, I guess Mike, since you haven't seen Clone Wars, since you haven't seen Clone Wars, when Darth Maul showed up at the end of Solo: Star Wars Stories, you're like, were you like, wait, what?
Darth Maul was in Solo. I guess I missed that little.
Yeah, he was like right there at the end, and for some reason he just like whips out his lightsaber in the hologram just to be like, hey.
Oh yeah,
here's my lightsaber.
Gotcha. Now I remember
him in his half body.
Yeah, in his spider legs.
Yeah.
Although I think at that point he had just the regular metal legs.
Yeah.
But was that confusing, I guess, to you when you?
No, I was just like, I guess confusing makes me think like differently than I was excited to know what the hell was going on. Like, I wasn't confused. I was more like, okay, where's this going? I want to know. And then, as you can tell, I completely forgot about it. So,
yeah, that was something I had wondered, was that if people hadn't seen like the animated series, if they would just be like, wait, how did Darth Maul come back from being bisected?
Well, as we've talked about, only 2 people have died from being stabbed in the gut by a lightsaber. Qui-Gon Jinn and Han Solo.
Yeah. That's true. I never really even thought about that, but yeah.
and only one of them wasn't a Jedi or Force user.
I think, yeah, I even think I mean, Mace Windu too. He just got thrown out of a window.
Yeah, did he die from being stabbed or being thrown out a window?
He got chopped up too, but he got thrown out of the window, and he says he's still alive. Samuel Jackson says, hey, it's Star Wars.
He does have BAMF engraved on his lightsaber hilt, so
yeah,
it's got to live up to that somehow.
He can come back as one of those Futurama head in a jar type characters.
There you
that
go.
Could work.
Like Ant-Man in the What If Zombies episode.
There you go.
Yeah. That was actually my favorite episode of that.
That was mine as well. But here, this is very good podcasting. Nobody else can see this but the 3 of us.
That's cool.
Radio 101.
What Mark just held up was a Spider-Man wearing the Sorcerer's Supreme cape. Well, not cape. What is it? It's not a cape.
Cloak?
Like they very specifically, a cloak. There you go.
A cloak.
They very specifically say that it's not a cape.
A cloak of something.
Yeah, cloak of levitation. Or yeah. Anyways, this is Star Wars podcast, not Marvel. But
we digress.
So with the Infinity Stones and all that, you can get to Star Wars from Marvel.
Yeah, if you want to hear how that happens, go watch Parks and Recreation and see Patton Oswalt's filibuster, where he tells how the Star Wars and Marvel universes can intersect.
Absolutely, they absolutely do.
So
they can now. Disney owns them.
Yeah, for this war between the Sith and Crimson Dawn. Well, after Cora had worked with Maul, she learned enough about like the dark side and Sith to set a goal basically to strike at the heart of the Empire, which is its Sith rulers, Darth Sidious and Vader. So with this, she kind of like enacts a plan to find a way to take out the Emperor using some ancient Force artifacts, and that's basically what the main storyline of this story is that they're going to be doing in the comics now, which sounds pretty interesting.
I'm looking forward to getting back into comics. It's just I used to go to the comic book store every Wednesday for new releases, and then I've been slacking on my comic books, and my brain is like, my brain knows because I haven't been reading as much in general. So my brain knows, my brain recognizes I have tough time with words sometimes because I'm not reading as much because I'm on set so much. But I can't wait to get back into more comic books again, especially Star Wars. I should just read my big fat encyclopedia book of Star Wars.
There you go.
I know I have it.
Me say, why say many words when few words do trick?
What's that?
I said, me say, why say
Office.
many words when few words do trick?
Car no go.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like any like comics myself, I usually try to wait for like when they do like the kind of like the collected like either like the trade like books or like
instead of the trades.
Yeah, because I don't like waiting like in between like each of those issues, and plus that way I have more, for me that feels like more clutter that'll end up happening, and I already have enough of that.
It's absolutely a cluster of comics. I have a whole like IKEA big shelving thing just full of comics. It's insane how many comics we have, but it's the same thing. I do like to get the books as opposed to the trades sometimes, but I like that anticipation of like getting the end to your trade and being like, oh okay, what like now I have 4 weeks or so before I can get the next one. So
yeah, it's almost like watching like a TV show or like something like that in that effect, because you're like done with the episode and you're like, oh, I gotta wait for because like I waited. There's that Ninja Turtles story, The Last Ronin. Like I had waited to read that for like the past year or so, just because I wanted the book rather than, like I said, getting it week to week. The only problem with that is that I had it spoiled to The Last Ronin was in that, but now it's been long enough where I've also forgotten. So
see, there are pluses and minuses.
Yeah. But yeah, so I will probably maybe pick this up if they do like a collected works of it, because I know that's what I'm going to be doing for the Obi-Wan story that they started this year with. It's kind of like through different segments of his life. But that's probably what I'll do with this too, because I liked that character in Solo, and I'm not sure when we might see her again in live action. Like I know Emilia Clarke's kind of got a good relationship with Disney now because she's going to be in the Secret Invasion show for Marvel. So maybe that'll keep that relationship going, and then maybe she'll show up in Andor or something like that, because that's
I hope
around the same time. But yeah,
maybe she'll be in Taika's Star Wars.
there you go.
Yeah, I mean he's asking people that have already been in Star Wars movies, so
I know, which is hilarious. I mean, I can understand it's 20 years ago at this point, pretty much. So I can understand forgetting 20 years, especially him. He seems like a kind of just like a guy that like lives in
the moment. Yeah,
he's a moment to moment guy to me, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see why he'd be asking her to be in the movie again, which is funny. Natalie Portman is who I'm talking about. Asking her to be in his Star Wars movie. Kind of cracked me up.
I thought about that though. I was like, she still could have done it in a way. Like if she had been like, not necessarily like a face character, but like if she had been either like a CG character.
She could be a stormtrooper or something.
Yeah.
Like Daniel Craig, he was a stormtrooper.
Yeah. But so like this next piece of thing, or not, it's not really even news, but I just thought it was kind of interesting, was that LG was releasing an OLED Evo Star Wars Special Edition TV. And I wasn't really sure what like made it a Star Wars
They printed TV. They put a little decal for the Empire on the back of it.
Yeah, I think
it probably has like a demo mode where it's like a Darth Vader face or something.
Yeah, from what I can see is like their remote control has like you said, it has Imperial logo on the back. The remote control says Star Wars on it, and then like the box says Darth Vader on it. So like the only thing I think of is like this is just as close to being like a Star Wars thing as like, because I know like they did the R2D2 C3PO Xbox 360 years ago, and then they had the Darth Vader PS4.
Yeah, I have the Darth Vader PS4.
Nice. I always kind of wanted that the 3PO R2 Xbox because I thought that translated really well to it. Like
Oh
how
yeah,
that looked then. But
absolutely.
I have the only special edition like system I ever got like that was the red Spider-Man PS4, and now my son has received that as I bequeathed that to him when
You
I got the
bequeathed
PS5.
to him.
Yeah, I'm still working on getting a PS5. I think it just takes a while. My girlfriend always says no.
You
Always a no.
just gotta work it in.
I mean,
But yeah,
I've snuck in purchases here and there. I've got some pops that she still hasn't seen somehow. Still hasn't seen. They're very much on display, but she never has said anything. I mean, I don't think I can hide a PS5 though. I think that'd be a little more difficult.
Just write PS4 on it and like.
yeah, there you go. They're like, oh, they just released a new model of the PS4. It's
Yeah,
just,
that'll work. It's a new PS4. It didn't. Don't worry, it didn't cost any extra money. It's some decals. It's got some decals.
I'm just holding it for a friend.
That I'll try. I'll see what she says. She'll come home one day and be like, that's Steve's PS5. It's not mine. He's letting me keep it while he's in Japan.
yeah, just
Make up stories.
yeah. But yeah, you could get this LG OLED TV and pair it with your Darth Vader PS4,
Mhm.
and then watch Star Wars on it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and watch Star Trek on it.
Yeah, that would be the funny thing to do is watch Star Trek on it.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, feel like it feels
It'd be
good.
funny if it only played Star Wars. You couldn't watch anything else. That's all it was for.
Probably that's a lot of content. So they
Yes,
probably
it is.
could. I mean, you could go a good probably like couple of weeks just to Star Wars content.
Yeah. And speaking of Star Wars content, via Empire Magazine, they released the official timeline for the Disney Plus series Andor, which I thought was kind of interesting that they went like this in depth and like breakdown of like exactly how this timeline is going to work for the Andor show.
Yeah.
'Cause this seems like stuff usually they would like hold back or like you would just, I guess, wouldn't find out until you were watching it. But season one is the entirety of season one is set 5 years before Rogue One, which we talked a little bit about Rebels, but that squares up directly with like the exact same timeline as that show. Basically, it seems like because that starts about 5 years before Rogue One as well, and then season two of Andor, episodes 1 through 3 are 4 years before Rogue One. Episodes 4 through 6 are 3 years before Rogue One. Episodes 7 through 9 are 2 years before Rogue One, and then episodes 10 through 12 are 1 year before Rogue One, leading straight into where we see Cassian Andor when he shows up in the movie itself.
It is pretty interesting they laid out the whole timeline. I don't remember really any show that has done that. I'm excited to get that many episodes instead of 6. I think that'll be like to extend the season like that. And they're probably not going to be, they'll probably be about an hour each. So, I mean, that's a lot of work that they're putting into it. So
yeah, if each of those are an hour long, that's a full day's worth of Andor to watch. You could watch one each hour over the course of a day.
Yeah,
it's going to be 20. Yeah, because I think this is going to be the longest technically Disney Plus series too, as far as
I was just going to say no Stranger Things, but that's Netflix.
Oh, but yeah,
I just finished that last night.
I'm going to finish that tonight, hopefully.
Oh, so good. so good.
Now, with this series, it's interesting that they're like, okay, season 1 is 5 years before, and then we're just going to compress it down. Like,
yeah, I do think that's interesting, like how all 12 episodes of season 1 are within that 5-year period, but then as you get to season 2, it's like every 3 episodes is a period of time and then jumps a year or so. I
It'll
mean,
be
I guess
interesting to see his story.
Yeah.
Because I don't think his story was completely flushed out in the movie at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a good arc, but it wasn't like I don't think it was a complete. You just saw him go from. He was always a rebel, but he was a rebel that would like maybe take it too far.
Yeah.
And then
especially like when we first see him too.
Complete the mission. So he had growth, and then he, spoiler alert, everybody dies. So it'll be interesting to see how they flush out his character in the series, what kind of arc they give him, and what other characters they pull in too. Into the series. But maybe we'll see some old faces in the series as well.
I know Alan Tudyk said that that K2SO doesn't show up until season 2, because that's kind of when, like, with somewhere within that time period is when Cassian steals the droid and then reprograms him to be the K2SO that we meet in Rogue One. So that should be. I'm looking forward to that show a lot. And it looks like that one also. I don't believe they even used the volume with, or like the stagecraft kind of technology for that one at all. I think that one was all like shot in like different like locations and whatnot. I think there might possibly be some volume stuff in there, like when they show like the Senate and stuff in there at different points in time. Because that seems like stuff would be primed to use the volume for. But I do think it's cool that they seemingly did shoot a lot of this like on location for the different stuff, and you can tell a lot of the times with that.
Yep, definitely looking forward to it. Rogue One, one of my favorite Star Wars films. So
yeah,
pretty cool stuff. Can only be good, right?
Yeah, it's just about 2 months away too.
Yeah, I think what made Rogue One so distinguishable from the rest of, I guess, episodes 1 through 9 was you always had that tension. Like from the beginning of the movie, there was always a tension.
Yeah.
And then the fear of the unknown as well in that. Because I mean, I feel like all the characters in Star Wars, if you just start with the original 3, they get you get a lot of growth out of their characters in those first 3 movies. The original 3 movies, episodes 4 through 6 is what I'm talking about. And then with Rogue One, you get, like, I remember seeing Rogue One in the theater and then immediately going home and watching A New Hope.
Yeah,
like,
because that works so well.
It gave you that motivation to be like, oh, I want to watch everything again. And I did. I watched, and then I sometimes I watch in a different order. I forget what it's called right now, the order that I watch it in. But you start with it's I forget what it's called. I wish my brain worked. Order? Yeah, machete. Yeah, I do that sometimes too. And I always start with Rogue One, no matter what. It is my favorite of the recent.
Like Disney era Star Wars.
Yeah,
I can agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite as well.
I love the tension. I love that. I mean, I guess I just love that they all die in the end too. Like, that was the sacrifice it took. Like, that's what it took just to get that one piece of information about the Death Star. It took a whole crew dying. They they never really showed any, like, there was nothing like that in any Star Wars episodes 1 through 9.
Everyone always got away by the skin of their teeth.
So it was that's I don't want to sound gruesome or that I love death, but I think that it adds so much more to their like that sacrifice that they talk about
to the Star War.
So it was just pretty. That's what I love most about it is that sacrifice, because we all make sacrifices, but that's the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So going from there and then kind of starting to segue a bit into our Obi-Wan discussion, the YouTube channel that releases like their honest trailers did one for Obi-Wan Kenobi recently. I don't. Did you guys watch that at all?
I didn't even know it existed yet. I love those too. I'm surprised I didn't know.
I watched some of it, and then the phone rang, so I didn't go back to it.
I watched it. Like I don't know. I think I liked the honest trailers a lot more. Dan Merle, who used to do the Screen Junkie stuff when he was there, I felt like the honest trailers were like they quote unquote were honest, like about like whatever they were talking about, but they were still like kind-hearted to them.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like since he's left and done his own channel now, like the dudes that are left there and women, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if any women write the honest trailer stuff. I think it's only this one dude, but I feel like they become like a lot more like mean-spirited and just like cynical about like whatever they do their honest trailers about. So they're like less fun to watch than they used to be.
Oh, really?
Less fun.
Honest.
Too honest.
Yeah, like they said, like the one thing that stood out in this movie said, bad for a movie, good for a Disney Plus TV series. So I was like, all right. And then they like made fun of like the stagecraft volume like look of the show as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know.
You didn't even change your clothes or your last name.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, did nothing. That's pretty funny. That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll leave a link to that in our like show notes if anybody else wants to watch it. But
I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah,
that will happen.
And speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi as a movie instead of a TV show, turns out that like we knew that this was originally planned as like a movie like way back when they were developing like a Star Wars story like branding of the movies that they were doing, like when they did Rogue One and then Solo. They were going to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi one, as they also were going to do a Boba Fett one, which so we ultimately got the Mandalorian and then the Book of Boba Fett, and then now we got the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. So like with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I guess it was originally going to be a movie trilogy, and it sounds like the original. So like the original trilogy, it sounds like was going to be like this. The first movie would have been like this first season basically. And then I'm not sure like exactly what the second and third movie would have been. But one of the writers that you see listed or credited for the first 3 episodes of the show had actually been originally hired on and written parts of what were going to be the film at that time. So he had said that he wrote the film that they based the show on. So he'd spent like 1.5 years working on it. And then the decision was made to not make any more spin-off films. And then he left the project and went on to do other things. And then another writer came on, Joby, took the scripts and turned them from 2 hours into 6. So the stuff that he worked on with them, he just got credit for the episodes because it was all like his stuff that he had originally done.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because I know that like there had been stuff that people had said where originally the story had Darth Maul in it instead of Vader, which I think like what, and we'll
Wouldn't
get
have
into
been
this
as
when
good.
Yeah.
that
That would have been a huge shortcoming in the Obi-Wan if it was Darth Maul instead of Darth Vader.
Yeah. So I guess like basically we can just like segue in straight into the main topic from here too, because I think like if they had done Maul instead of Vader, that it wouldn't have been as emotional, or like because like the main like connection of just Anakin / Vader and Obi-Wan was really like the through line for like this entire series. And I feel like if it had been Maul instead, I mean, they maybe could have made it so that it was more of like a thing with like Obi-Wan still dealing with
it would have had to have been
like in some way of
on.
losing Qui-Gon, but like he was still more affected by that, and that's like how he's dealing with it. But then also with Maul and Obi-Wan having a duel in Rebels, that also changed the story as well, with having him show up in the series too.
Yeah, I think the timeline, I agree with Michael. It would have had to been, they would have had to do it earlier. It couldn't have been 10 years if it was Maul, in my opinion. I would definitely agree with that. It would have changed the whole complexion, because I feel like they, with Darth Vader, you get in the movies, you don't get as much as you've gotten from like even Rogue One, but in this series specifically, we saw a couple of in the movies, specifically with Darth Vader, you see a couple of lightsaber scenes. This you get like full on, like how badass Darth Vader actually is. I think you missed that. I think you, like, Darth Vader's always been a great bad guy, but I think his bad guy attributes have been better built up in this series, and even at the end of Rogue One, or in Rogue One as well. I feel like his character got, because he was always a badass, but he wasn't, in my opinion, like everybody would always say he's the worst bad guy ever, but he's really just a slave at the end of the day. Like he's still a slave to the dark side, and he's still, because he still is pulled, he still has that emotion that they always talk about with him. So I feel like Darth Vader gets his due in this series, and you get to understand kind of what Anakin went through before he came to the dark side, a little bit more of his story.
Yeah, it's definitely a better story to have Vader in this particular timeline. If they were going to put Maul in there, it would, like, you couldn't have the kid storyline. I don't think. No, you'd have to have a completely different. It could be a completely different show.
Yep.
They could just, and I don't know if it would have worked as well emotionally, like Mark said.
Yeah. It would have missed those emotional points, because it's already built in. I think that, and I also think people would have been let down if it was Darth Maul, to be honest, because a lot of people just kind of shoved him aside anyway. After episode 1, he was, cut in half. And then if there are people that don't watch the animated series, I think you miss out on a lot of Darth Maul. So I think it just would have been a big miss for them if they had tried that.
And that's where I'm at, because I have yet to watch some of the animated ones. So
it's okay. I forgive you. I think we all forgive you.
I don't think anyone's truly forgiven me. More like, we'll tolerate you for the time being, but get your shit together type deal.
It took me a while to watch those series too. So,
Now, when we've had other guests on for the 6 episodes as they played out, we asked them their thoughts as they were playing out. So, as kind of like overall for parts 1 through 6, what did you think of like the show in its entirety, Adam?
In its entirety, a lot of it really kicks into gear in episode 5. It makes sense because of just the way the arc of the series worked, because it's a lot of exposition. The first few episodes is a lot of like talking about other things that are going on before that lead up with the first meeting with Obi-Wan and Darth. But I liked a lot about it. Like all the episodes held my interest. It wasn't something that like some there's shows where I'll just be like on my phone, but I was captivated from the first minute it started, and I liked the casting of the kids. I did find the little girl who played Leia, she was a lot like Padme in a lot of ways. And I wasn't seeing a lot of Leia, like adult Leia, because I feel like Leia didn't really get her story due until, I don't know, episode 8. Like, is when you really, like, she's a rebel, obviously, but she's kind of like the leader. You don't see her fighting, you don't see her doing anything until episode 6, 7, 9. Yeah, I think I'm right. Yeah. Return of the Jedi is when she really like grits her teeth. I don't think we saw that in the character in Obi-Wan. I don't think we saw that fight in her. She was very, I mean, she says it a few times, I'm a princess. She talks about how, you know, she's royalty. And she has that attitude. She gets into it with her cousin slightly, and gets punished. And then I thought that a lot of what Obi-Wan, a lot of what we see in him is a lot of what we see I see a lot of parallels in Luke, in The Last Jedi, just like kind of disgruntled, you know, not ignoring the Force as much as Luke did, but I mean, he kind of is just, he's over it. He's like, it's over. Like, we need to find something else, and I'm here to take care of the boy, and that's it. That's his motivation, just to make sure that the boy is safe. And he's a recluse. He lives in a cave, you know. So that I saw a lot of parallels with Obi-Wan and how Luke was in episode 8. But I mean, you have Ewan McGregor just being amazing at every step of the way. You could tell that he was excited to be back. I think playing this character, and excited to flesh out some other things that maybe he were missed in the movies. But overall, I think it was an exciting thing. I liked pulling in of I'm going to forget their names, but Kumail Nanjiani, I thought
Haja
had a great little character. I thought that O'Shea Jackson had a great character. I loved man, I can't. I probably shouldn't have watched all 6 episodes back to back. They're all kind of like rumbling around in my brain. But I did. There was a lot of great character work in it, from the actors. I think a lot of the actors are probably really, even Benny Safdie.
Oh yeah,
It was a nice little surprise. I'm sure like some of these people that got to play in these roles were really excited, and I think that kind of came through in their performances, regardless of even storyline. And I think the storyline, like I said, I think it was a little bit exposition-y the first few episodes, but I understand why they wanted to build all that tension up for the last 2 episodes, because you get those 2 meetings. And even like when Darth throws Obi into the fire and says, "You will suffer like me, like I suffered, like you're gonna have to suffer," and it's just, there's a lot of good like callbacks in the world, and that's what I specifically enjoyed the most, is just getting to see Obi-Wan be Obi-Wan was cool to me, you know, instead of like the old man. And instead of like the childlike, he was very childlike and young in the first 3 episodes, and then he's the old man in the last 3, the guidance. So it's nice to see him get to flush out those character traits, and see like the building of him, and even the relationship with Leia. Because you never, like, it was always Luke and him and everything. It was always him and Luke, always. And Leia was kind of like the forgotten one in the all entirety of just being one with the Force. Right. Really, you never really saw her get that. So that was kind of neat too, that he was such a big, that they were able to do it where they made him a big part of her youth as well. And why she calls for him for help. She knows that, you know, he'll come and help her, which is why she calls for him in A New Hope.
Yeah, and that was something early, like before we watched the series, that I was like, I want a Leia story. I don't want a Luke story. We know his story. And then when it happened, I was like, I'm just Deborah Chow. I made this happen. Like, it was me.
You did it, man. You did it.
I identify as Deborah Chow, so all credit goes to me.
So, and like the other thing we were kind of noticing, or a lot of people were noticing as we were watching, was like each episode was kind of correlating to uh, each one of the first 6 films too. And so we talked about this during the course of the show too. But I found like a good breakdown that kind of like really shows like some of those things where, so like episode 1, we had a story that takes place primarily in 2 different locations, Tatooine, and then like a planet that's kind of like clean and bright. So like instead of Naboo, we had Alderaan. And then we had a little 10-year-old kid that got sent on a path with all this stuff going on, just like Anakin in the first film as well. And then in episode 2, we got some connections to Attack of the Clones with we had Tamara Morrison's cameo as a clone trooper in that, but then we also had Obi-Wan kind of going on like a detective mission of sorts, kind of like he did in Attack of the Clones. So we had that in there too. Then it's more of like a on the surface thing, but and like a more of a loose connection, but like other people have said, like the whole like underground Coruscant neon looking cityscape, and then like that with this as well too. And then there's in part 3, obviously Obi-Wan and Vader have a lightsaber fight with each other. One of them gets burnt pretty badly. So that's all going on in that one. And then it's even like, and that one's even in the Mustafar system, so it's like still within the area. Part 4, I think, has the most like on the nose connections to like A New Hope too, because it's like someone infiltrating a base where Leia is being held captive. Obi-Wan goes in, causes a diversion, hiding around and everything. So I thought that was kind of funny as well. And then episode 5 are kind of straightforward as well. With like the Empire coming after the path, like on this like remote base on a planet with like all the troopers and stuff there. And then like the finale, obviously you got a Force ghost in there at the very end that Obi-Wan sees, much like Luke did with Qui-Gon. There's one kind of final emotional lightsaber battle with like the kind of like a fight for like Anakin's soul in a way, but it just ends in a very different way than it did for Luke and Obi-Wan. And speaking of that scene, that was like one of my favorite scenes in the show too, with like the whole Anakin's gone, I am what remains. Obi-Wan saying, I'm sorry, like, and then like I don't think Anakin did it on.
I shed some tears.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't think I did. I definitely did too. And I don't think Anakin did this on purpose, but he like absolves Obi-Wan of like his feeling of guilt, because I don't think he would do that on purpose at like this point. But he's like, I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
I think that goes back to him still having. He was always Anakin was always thoughtful, and he always cared, and that was always his issue with the Jedi Council. Going back to that was that he was too emotional,
right?
And that's something that he didn't lose, because I think that there still is Anakin in there, as Padme says, like he's still in there somewhere. He's still in there, and I think we obviously at the end of his life, he is obviously still in there. He still has love for his kids that he never even knew about. But yeah, I totally agree. I think it was great that it was a little character thing that for him to absolve Obi-Wan for sure was something that was Anakin. That wasn't Darth.
Yeah. And so that was like one of my favorite scenes. What was like some of your favorite scenes, guys, from the show? Mike and then Adam.
I would like a scene I wish would have happened because I was liking it was in the tomb scene where everyone's in those amber things, that all the Jedi, it's frozen in amber. They had like the hall of the lightsabers of all the Jedi that were slain. I would have that was just felt like it could have been more powerful to me, and I would like to have stayed in there a little more. Funniest scene that I still laugh about is Obi-Wan and Leia in the large trench coat. I thought that was just a nice little comedic break. The final duel between Vader and Obi-Wan stands out as my favorite. I loved how episode 1 though was so boring, and I believe it was done intentionally to show what Obi-Wan put himself through to hide. I thought that was a great bit of storytelling. And then I think it was episode 3 where they first show Vader in the back of the tank and they kind of focus in on his arm missing. And then the episode ends with Leia holding Obi-Wan's hand.
Yeah.
I was like, that was just so powerful to me. How it started there and where it ended. Like, she's never going to hold her dad's hand this way. Like, that's her father. Obi-Wan is her father to her. And it just like, as a father, it just like, I was like, no, that's just too hard. That's so hard hitting.
Speaking of that, I just really quick, I did like the stuff that Obi-Wan said to Leia at the end of the show too, like telling her what great qualities she had from both her mom and her dad.
Mm-hmm. So emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, because you like, I mean, we all of us did anyway, grow up with Star Wars in our lives, obviously. So you have like to be able to see them as kids like that. Well, specifically Leia, because Luke barely gets anything, which I'm happy with. Because we were I mean, I love the character Luke Skywalker, but it was nice to see, like, I would say that would be one of my favorite things about the series was getting to see Leia. And her like what shaped her, and a lot of like what shaped her to be the rebel / fighter / princess of the universe, so to speak. But I mean, I love the little plot twist with the third sister. Like, I thought that was something that was pretty neat. Her motivation the whole time, you find out, is to kill Vader. That's her sole motivation. She's
like that, but then I hate the fact that it just became throwaway.
Oh yeah, that was actually my next point. They just kind of like okay, because she like you understand her motivation at that point. You get why she's doing what she's doing, and then she just, she goes to Luke, and you think she's gonna kill Luke, but that's I think that's I don't want to say negative, right. But that's something that shows do, like, like we know nothing's gonna happen to Luke.
Yeah, that's what.
So, there's no tension there, so it's like, okay, she's gonna go. What's she gonna do? Yeah. She's gonna give him his toy back, whatever,
Just slap him in the face and I hate your dad and walk away.
Yeah, like that lacked a little bit, but I mean, that's something that happens in every, like, any TV show is the same way. You put your lead characters in a precarious position that like they're gonna make it out. It's just a matter of how they're gonna make it out, and it's the same kind of tropes that they kind of force on us. No pun intended with the force. But I do like
in any show where we're out of ideas for this person. Let's just shoot him in the head. Okay, they're done.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? I understand your motive behind it. I wanted something more because the show was so great. Like,
But I mean, overall, I like a lot of the points you were making, Michael. I absolutely agree with. With
finally someone agrees with me.
no, like because it's you hit a lot of good points, and I mean, everything you had to say, I kind of double, and I'm trying to think of other things, but like the one other thing is that the third sister's flip, if you will, that I enjoyed as part. Did I like the payoff of the flip? No, but I did like it. I did like that because it wasn't very Star Wars-esque to have something like that, where you had a complete, like, she was She was a spy essentially.
Which that's one of my favorite quotes in the series is when Vader walks up to her. It's like, you don't think I know who you were? Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
I knew the entire time.
As he should, because he's a badass.
Yeah.
So he should know everything that's going on.
I also loved how they portrayed, like, if you mentioned he was a slave, he was born into slavery and he's still a slave as Vader.
Mhm.
And that's shown when he's like, if we go here, we can get Obi-Wan, and Palpatine just like, no. And he's like, okay, no, you're right. Just boom.
Yeah.
I agree with the master. Like,
and I thought that was interesting how he even called Obi-Wan master still during their duel.
Yeah, I think that's just that. I don't think that ever changes. I feel like that's just something. Once a master, always a master kind of deal.
mm-hmm.
In that specific world.
Yeah.
I think that's just, it's like a respect thing, and that also shows part of him still, like Anakin still being there. Because I'm a firm believer that Anakin is always there. There's always a part of him. I don't think Anakin ever was really dead.
Yeah, and that kind of comes out in Jedi when he throws Palpatine over the edge to save his son. Like, if he was gone, Vader would just been like, peace out, Luke.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he would have tossed him aside. Like, he wouldn't have cared. Yeah. But he always, I think that I think love was his defining character trait at the end of the day for Vader. Mm-hmm. Like that, love. And that was his biggest issue. Even I think also love was the biggest issue with the Jedi Council with him, was that he, like, you're not supposed to love. You're supposed to just be open and just be accepting, but you're not supposed to fall for someone. Like, they
which brings me to just an interesting thing. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
We have Yaddle, we have Yoda, we have Grogu. The assumption is Grogu is their kid. Wouldn't that violate all that Yoda has put his foot down on with Anakin and all these things? Like, everything you're not.
Yeah.
Yaddle did leave the council in between episodes 1 and 2. So maybe they'll do the Disney Plus series where it's like a family court kind of thing where Yaddle and Yoda get a divorce, and Yoda gets custody of Grogu, but then like leaves him behind during Order 66 because Yoda's actually a bad dad.
It's just like an interesting story point.
He would be a bad dad because he would be teaching his kids not to love. It's like suppress your emotions. Like, he would be a bad dad. He's like, great leader, though.
You will be.
Yeah. That's so funny. I never thought of it in that aspect. That's pretty funny.
Then another just revelation in this series for me was Bail Organa being part of the Empire. I never, like, he was part of the Empire, but in a different way. That was just something that was like, yeah, it was holy crap. Didn't think of that. And then the fact that Jedi take children just like the Empire take children to be stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. The more you like kind of think about like the Jedi Order as like a whole kind of thing, it's really kind of like messed up, and like you could understand like why what happened to Anakin happened to Anakin.
Absolutely you can.
Like, sure. the kid already has like emotional trauma from like dealing with being a slave for 10 years of his life, and then being separated from his mother. And then, that's why I'm not trying to also like apologize for other stuff that Anakin does, because he does have like plenty of his own issues that like he makes his own choices for with like different things, but he's definitely like a traumatized like individual that's dealing with things in a way that make the most sense to him. And he feels like would, like, because a lot of the times you see the stuff that he's trying to do is like stuff to bring, he's like trying to bring order and make things like nice and like clean or like organized so that they have like some kind of sense to them, so he knows what that thing is and how it goes. With without like this whole life of like having to deal with like all this different stuff. I'm listening to other people.
Yeah, he's always Anakin's always emotion. That's what it is. He's going from emotion instead of critical thinking. He doesn't really see the big picture, I think, all the time.
Yeah,
I think he's instinctual with his emotions. Like when he murders the women and the children, he kills all of them. It's all emotion. Like they tortured his mother, killed his mother, and he was like, you know what? That's you hurt my feelings, and
eye for an eye time.
Yeah, and that's his motivation. He's purely emotional. Everything about him is based on the emotional reaction of the situation he's in. And I think it, going back to the series, I think it was cool to see Anakin go through that in live action, because he kind of goes through it in the Clone Wars. You see his change, but I think that to see it in live action, like for me, cartoons are always, cartoons are great. I love cartoons for adults, basically, even though this is like, it's obviously for children, but it's garnered towards adults as well, trying to hit that. So it's, for me, it's great to see a live action version of his, like when they're fighting or when they're sparring, lightsaber sparring, him and Obi-Wan, and he's telling him over and over, you're dealing with emotion, like you got to get it out, this is just, it's gonna kill you. It's basically telling Obi-Wan is telling him, he's like, this is gonna lead to your demise. But he's so emotional that he just doesn't care. He's instinctual, and he goes off of that, whatever his heart is telling him. He's like, boom, I'm doing it. He's not a heady Jedi, which I think is what, where that disconnect comes with the council and just with the Jedis in general. He never really saw the purpose of the council. Like if he wasn't on it, because he says in the movies, he's like, I don't understand. Basically, I'm obviously not quoting it directly, but he's like, I don't understand. How can I like be guarding Padme and not be on the council? How can you give me such responsibilities? And that's all coming from his heart. It's just his heart. He's not thinking critically. It was cool to see that that emotional, those emotional stakes in the sparring with Obi-Wan. I think that was kind of neat too, to see him like get angry and like want to win when he's not even supposed to want to win. It's just sparring. There's nothing to do with win or loss.
It's the pod racer in him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Win.
Absolutely.
That also, I'm also assuming that the scene of the sparring scene definitely takes place prior to the events of Attack of the Clones too, because it makes the whole scene on Tatooine with Anakin and Padme, where he's like, I want more, but I know I shouldn't. It's like, it's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's holding me back. That feels like that was maybe like a day or two after like that whole sparring session, where it's still like fresh in his mind.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely the show helped put depth throughout the whole series of films, here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, and you get some cool stuff in this series. That's what I enjoyed about it the most, to be honest, was getting those little things that you miss in the movies, like the little connecting dots that maybe we're missing in the movies. But I look at all Star Wars anyway, like it's entertainment. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I don't like the first 3 episodes, or I don't like this or that or the other thing. It's Star Wars. I love it all. Like I don't.
that was my I had that mindset when the prequels came out, but I was a moody teenager then, so I'll use that as my excuse. I remember when Solo came out, one of my friends was like, I ain't going to see that. That's just Disney being greedy. That movie was terrible. I was like, how can you say it's terrible? Like, you didn't see it, first off. Secondly, if you like Star Wars, you're going to see it and you're going to enjoy it on some level.
Yeah. Like, it's freaking Star Wars. Like, it's Star Wars. It's ingrained. It's ingrained in American history at this point.
Yeah, it's in our lexicon. Like,
every Star Wars I guess, piece of content at this point now, whether it's a film or TV series, is someone's favorite Star Wars thing. So like where like your favorite movie might be Empire Strikes Back, someone's favorite movie might be Phantom Menace, somebody's favorite thing might be season 2 of Resistance. So whoever you are, and all those people are allowed to, and someone's favorite movie could be Rise of Skywalker too. So like everybody's
Someone could really like Palpatine, you know?
Yeah. So, somehow
want more of them.
Somehow he returned. But yeah, but like everyone's allowed to like their own stuff, and like at the end of the day, all this stuff is still Star Wars. So it's just fun to have. And then I guess before we wrap up too, is there like any other like favorite Easter eggs or settings from within the show that you guys wanted to talk about briefly, or that you can think of?
I mean, right off the top of my head, because I thought about this earlier and I didn't mention it. Again, I won't say character names. I know the actor names, but O'Shea Jackson had the bow that
the bowcaster
with Chewbacca. He had the bow gun, which I thought was really cool. And a lot of that scene reminded me of The Last Jedi. That whole little fight scene where they're trying to hold them back from blasting the door open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Direct parallel. And I have a little spot in my heart for The Last Jedi, just because I'm a huge Rian Johnson fan, and in my opinion, he does no wrong.
I love Last Jedi.
He's like a perfect being. But like that was one of my favorite things, was seeing that the bow gun in the series is like a little kind of like ode, because there were no Wookiees, so I like that. And I like the Jawas
name
too.
was Roken.
Yeah, I love the Jawa interaction.
Yeah. Oh, the Jawas are always great. It's always great to see Jawas.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to disagree with Adam on the Kamal's character there. Not that his character was bad. I just felt like for this series, maybe he'll come back somewhere else. I felt like too big of an actor for such a little part. And then I'm glad they didn't make more of it like they kind of are in Mandalorian with Amy Sedaris' character. I'm not a fan of throwing in big names into something like Star Wars just to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
And like his character was cool, and they pretended to be a Jedi and he was scamming people. But like to have such a big name do that, and then just kind of like, I was like, maybe it's use him somewhere else. That was just my only downfall with that. It's like, if you're going to get a big name, use him in a more meaningful way. Yes, he had some meaning. Maybe he'll have more meaning later on. But that was just my opinion on him.
And he could always show up in Andor too.
Yeah.
I think him and Roken could show up in Andor.
Yeah.
I guess my favorite scene overall, it was just, because there's a meme about it too, like when Obi-Wan starts pelting with rocks. Oh. That power he has, and then the meme is, hey, you don't like sand? What's sand made of? And then
I like the version of that too where he's like, it's over, Anakin, I have the ground.
Yeah.
He's just throwing the ground.
When Obi-Wan uses love, finally, instead of logical thinking, he gets so much more powerful, and then is able to defeat Vader in a way, not like defeat, but hold him off, stave him off.
Yeah. But yeah,
that was my favorite little thing.
And I think overall we all agree that we really enjoyed season 1. I know Mike wants a season 2, about
at least a movie, something. Yeah, something a little more.
Do you want a continuation, Adam, or are you good with?
Oh yeah, I think I would love to see a continuation. I would love to see another like time jump too with it. I wouldn't want to see them as I wouldn't want to see Leia and Luke as 10-year-olds again.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe like I don't know, because Luke doesn't even know who Obi-Wan is. So I'd like to see like he knows I think everybody on Tatooine knows old Ben. But I would like to see like a little time jump, maybe see a different adventure, if you will. And maybe not even involving like Luke and Leia. Try something like you could try something completely different. Give him something give him something else to make him more downtrodden about the Force and about like his overall existence. Because I think
you can show early
that a
years on
lot.
Tatooine before he's a fishmonger or whatever the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like something along those lines, I think would be a lot of fun to see. Just a little bit of a different kind of arc storyline for Obi.
Yeah.
I think would be kind of neat. Maybe finding a new Jedi somewhere that he tried to train, and maybe that's why he
gives up on the Force.
My dog's getting crazy.
He agrees.
So that would be kind of cool to see. Maybe there was another Jedi that he found because he thought they were all gone anyway. Because I mean, in according to the Last Jedi, the Force can be in anybody,
right?
And I think that would be something that I think that was forgotten, or like they just kind of retconned or reconned in the Skywalker, the last one. I don't remember the name of it right now, but episode 9. I think they kind of like retconned it. They were just like, yeah, the Force could be with anybody, but nah, not really. Not really. I think that would be something that'd be kind of neat. Maybe he gets like a little school together or something. I don't know.
Yeah. There's definitely many things that they could do, just less real estate to work within as the more and more that they do with the character, like within that time period.
Yeah.
But that's going to wrap up our coverage and discussion of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Disney Plus series. If you guys want to leave us a review on the podcast catcher of your choice, if it allows you to do so, it helps us out. It helps us out a lot. It's easy for me to say. Spotify, Apple, they both let you do that. You can find the show on social media at HoldoPod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us on YouTube by searching for the HOLDO MANEUVER podcast. And then individually, you can follow us on social media. I'm at Marc Vibert, MarcVibbert.
You can just search my name, Michael Soren. That's last name's not spelled as it sounds, Sawran. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram. I mainly just post about when this show comes out and my other YouTube series comes out. And then sometimes there's some random tidbits of things I found amusing. But
and then Adam.
My social medias are mostly like my Twitter's mostly sports, but that's Adam Danny Daniel. And then Instagram is the only other one I use, and that's mostly like my production stuff and scenic pictures. I like to take scenic pictures if you like scenic pictures. And that's Adam Daniel Danny on Instagram. So a little bit of switch of the names, but most of my stuff is about productions and things that I'm working on. And then Twitter, you'll find a lot of sports stuff. Like that's I'm not a big social media person, but you can reach out to me if you'd like, and I'll
all good. Then you can follow our editor, Vactor, just at Vactor, Vactor. And you can email us at holdopod@gmail.com. But as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Thank the maker.
Thank you, George.